Okay, so today we're going to be doing a review video. We're going to be talking about 3 books that I read. The Deal of a Lifetime, which is actually a short story. This is literary fiction. Oh no. Hercule Poirot's Christmas. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. This is a classic murder mystery by Agatha Christie. And Best Served Cold, which is a fantasy, grimdark, brutal revenge story. There will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip around a little. We're going to start with The Deal of the Lifetime, which is a literary fiction short story. It's only 65 pages long. The premise of this is it's a man who is in the hospital. He thinks he's at the end of his life because he's had a tough diagnosis, and he's given the opportunity to give up his life for someone else. Like, death shows up and gives him this opportunity. And I guess that's all I'll say since it's 65 pages long. I really enjoyed this book, short story, again, because Bachman has this ability to take a difficult topic and explore it in this unique way that just makes me think about it. And he does it in a way where it really feels like he's exploring something inside himself, and he's doing it in such a raw and vulnerable way that I feel like I'm having a discussion with someone who gets this topic that's also important to me. The big theme, I mean, there's a lot of themes in this story. There's a lot of parallels in this story, but the big theme is that this man has spent his life pursuing work, pursuing money, pursuing a big name for himself, a big reputation for himself. And he's sacrificed a lot of relationships and people and morality in order to accomplish these things. And now that he is facing this question, he is reevaluating the values that he's had in his life. And it's such a great topic of discussion, and it hit me real personal, and I really, really loved it. I did have some nitpicks, some things that tripped me up a little bit that made it a 4-star instead of a 5, but it was still fantastic. I still loved it so much and do recommend. It's only 65 pages. It's a very fast read. And actually, in the physical edition, which is over on my desk, is it over on my desk? I think half of the pages were illustrated, so it's even less than 65 pages. It's such a quick read. I guess I'll go into some quick spoilers so I can talk about the things that tripped me up, the things that I didn't like about this, since it's so short. Why not? Timestamps in the description for you to just skip to the next book. A couple of things that tripped me up in this. One, at one point, Death says that she can't see into the future, and then shortly thereafter, she tells him his future. She says, you're gonna get a good diagnosis tomorrow, and you're gonna go home and live a happy life and get all you want out of life. And can you tell the future or not? Also, one of the big thing about this book is that he can't give his death. He can't die in the place of another. Like, take my life and save hers. It doesn't work that way. It's take my life, my actual life. You'll be erased from the world if you sacrifice your life to give her more life, right? This little girl. So that's like the big question. And the thing is that the way she explained it, she said, so if you disappear, if you give up your life, then that means that you were never here. No one remembers you. No one knows you existed. And the way she explained it is that someone else will come in, like your family will still be around. Your son will still be alive. But someone else will come in and they'll have been your son's dad. And naturally, my brain is trying to fill in these holes, and I'm just like, okay, if someone else comes in to be his dad, then does that mean that someone else now is leaving a hole? Like, what about their life? What about the life that this man has built up, his whole life? Now, if you're removing him from his life and putting him here, then who fills the whole of his life? And then who fills the whole of that person's life? Like, what happens when you remove someone and put them here? There's still a hole in the universe that needs to be filled, and then just turtles all the way down. So then it's like, okay, so then is a new human created out of nothing every time someone gives up their life and they disappear from existence? Is a new human created out of nothing and placed there? Is that how does that work? What do they have manufactured memory? And I know it wasn't the point. I know it wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story wasn't the plot or all that. It was the discussion. The point of the story is the discussion. And I reminded myself of that, and I let these things go. But obviously I didn't let them go enough because it still gets me. But these things were little things. They were little nitpicks about like, this isn't just tripping me up a little bit, but it was fine. The one thing, I would have still given it 5 stars with these things. The one thing that actually bothered me is sometimes Bachman does this thing that I hate. And I won't say where else he did it because I don't want to spoil other books. But sometimes he does this thing where he'll say something at the beginning of the story to create false expectations so that he can then subvert those expectations. And he did that with this short story. And it's so blatant that it's like, okay, now I have to go back. Now that I've gotten to the end, I feel lied to because you said something and then you delivered something else. So now I have to go back to the beginning and reread the beginning because you lied to me. And then once I reread it, I realize, oh, you worded it in this abstract way so that you deceived me, so that you would make me believe something. But it was abstract enough that it's not 100% that thing. And he can get by with having just set up false expectations so he can subvert them. And I actually really hate that. It's a narrow line. Like, I'm really okay with authors setting something up and then letting the readers make assumptions and then subverting those assumptions. But Bachman takes it a step too far for me, where he actually is intentionally trying to deceive me so that he can subvert these things. And I hate it. I think he takes it a step too far. Like, I feel like you can allow your readers to make assumptions and then subvert those without outright, like, presenting them with something and wanting, like, making them believe something with the way you worded it, being tricky about it. And I don't like that he does this. I've only read 2 books where he's done it, and I've hated it both times, and it's like, it's bothered me both times. But oh well. It was still a fantastic story. Amazing things were still discussed. I still had a great time with it. Okay, the next book that we're discussing here is the Agatha Christie Christmas one. This is my first detective. I know that this is her detective. Poirot is the detective that she has in a lot of her stories, and this is my first one with him. And I'm going to discuss this in another video, but we'll discuss it here too. The thing with murder mysteries is a lot of times I really enjoy the beginning and I really enjoy the end, but a lot of times the middle goes on a little bit long for me, and I felt this way with Agatha Christie's book. She did a great job of setting up this really interesting mystery with a bunch of suspects that all look pretty sus, and she laid clues in this story so well, where it's like a bunch of little things that are really obvious. Once you know the ending, once you know who did it, the clues were right there, like so clearly there. But because everybody's a little bit sketchy and has their own secrets, it's hard to decipher which people are just sketchy people and which people are hiding things. And I think she did such a great job at accomplishing that. There was a part in the middle where I actually ended up just putting this book down and finishing another book. I finished Best Served Cold, and then I came back to this. And I feel that way with a lot of murder mysteries, where it's just like, okay, we've been introduced to these people, we've got clues, we're deliberating, and like the deliberating goes on a little bit longer than I want it to. It's just a preference thing. And once we got to the ending, I was happy with who done it, and because it wasn't too obvious, but it was also all right there. So I was really happy with how it went. And the final book that I will be discussing in this spoiler-free review is Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. Oh my goodness, this book was so good. So, okay, I did an interview with Joe Abercrombie recently, and I asked him what order he wants his books read in. And he said that the way he wrote them is that you can start at the beginning of any of his trilogies, or you can start with any of his standalones, and they're all good starting points, entry points into his world. But ask most any fan of Joe Abercrombie's, and they will say, read his books chronologically. And I get it. But I think I disagree. Don't get me wrong, if you're willing to start with the First Law trilogy, start with the First Law trilogy, because there are characters in this trilogy that show up in the standalone, and man, it was really satisfying to already know so much about these characters that show up and then be able to just dive back in with them in a different setting, in a different story, in a different part of their life. I loved it. But it's definitely readable as a standalone, as an entry point. I guess you'll get some mild spoilers for the trilogy if you start here, but I think you'd be fine. Does it hold up? For those of you who read the trilogy and you're concerned about going to the standalone, go into the standalone. It has Joe's signature, unbelievable, incredible character work that he creates such uniquely different and wholly lovable while being so bad, so morally corrupt in this world that's so morally corrupt. He has all these signature abilities to get inside a character's head and make them completely, wholly, uniquely their own. And nothing that they do feels out of character. Everything they do is just like, oh, wow, yeah, that makes sense. That is what this character would do. Even sometimes there were some scenes in this book where I was just like, really? But it always fit, it always fit with the character, even though sometimes I was like, okay, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free, so I don't want to go into it so much, but there were certain scenes that I was like, really? But the characters, it always worked for the characters. He just has this ability to create some of the most authentically real 3D characters that I've ever read. And please, those of you who have read more of Joe's work than I have, please tell me that Friendly shows up in other books, because he is one of my new favorite characters of all time, and I miss him. Even if the timelines are different, even if we're hanging out with Friendly before this story, I don't care, I need more Friendly. This book was so surprising with how much it did so well. It's a revenge story. It has family dynamics. It has characters that develop such an incredible friendship, an incredible dynamic. It has characters really grating against each other that don't fit well at all. It has romance. It has adventure. It has intrigue. It has betrayal. It has so many great elements to it. And if you're not a hugely character-focused reader and the thing that intimidates you about First Law is that it's not very plot-focused in the first book, the plot doesn't even really begin until the second book. Hey, bud. Sorry. If the thing that makes you hesitate about the First Law is that you're not so character-focused that having very little plot for a whole book is intimidating to you, start with Best Served Cold so that you can get an idea of how incredible Joe is, because the plot in Best Served Cold is so good, and it's important. It's at the four-point. It's driving. I mean, the characters still drive the story. They always drive the story, but it's a great driving plot. It's a very engaging plot, and I think that if you are less of a all I care about is characters kind of reader, this is going to really show you Joe's talent. Because honestly, I might like this more than the trilogy. I don't know. I need to think about it. I might like this more than the trilogy. I feel like there are so many things that Joe Abercrombie does well, but this book shows off his ability in near every facet. I mean, truly, I really, really, really liked this story. Also, if you've read this book, can you do the spoiler space? I want to hear what you think about the ending. I haven't read reviews. I haven't watched videos on it. I don't know what the general consensus is, but can we talk about the ending? Because this is spoiler free still, when I first read it, my reaction was, what? And then I thought about it, and I think I love it, but I still don't actually know how I feel about it, and I would love to talk to you guys about it. It was very different from how you expect a fantasy ending to go, and I think it actually worked really well for these characters and for this world. I really respect Joe for how he ends his books, because he doesn't end them the way fantasy readers expect him to end them, and it works. He pulls it off, I think. I want to know if other people think that, though. I'm such a fan of Joe Abercrombie's work. I really recommend it. There you go. That's my spoiler-free review of Best Served Cold. Anyway, I would love to continue chatting with you guys about any of these books. Have you read them? What did you think of them? Do you plan to read any of them? I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.